So I will call to order the, I just have to think about the month for a second, October meeting of the Bloomington Board of Park Commissioners. And Kim, could you start us with the roll call, please?
Yes, Kathleen Mills.
Here.
Ellen Rodkey.
Here.
Israel Herrera.
Here.
And Jim Whitlatch.
Here.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. And then our item A, excuse me, is our consent calendar. So again, this has our minutes from the September meeting, claims submitted, non-reverting budget amendments, business reports, refunds, surplus, and then just some pretty standard contracts that we've seen year after year with things this particular time, like or partnership agreements with, youth hockey and figure skating and things of that nature. So we've all had a chance to take a look at these, and they don't need individual votes. So if we have a board member who would like to propose a motion to approve the consent calendar, unless any board members have questions.
I don't have questions and can move to approve the consent calendar.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, great. And then we'll have a roll call vote, please, Kim.
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey.
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so that motion unanimously carries. And then we're going to move up our Bravo Award, which is listed on the agenda towards the end of the meeting, but so we can go ahead and hear about Park Ambassador Garrett Middleton, who I think is on the meeting here. So we'll hear from Sarah Owen first.
There we go. Sorry, I didn't have the ability to turn off my video right away. Apologize. Sarah Owen, Community Relations Coordinator for the department. As Kathleen mentioned, this month for our Bravo Award, which recognizes our outstanding volunteers, we would like to recognize Garrett Middleton, who is one of our park ambassadors, who is currently serving in his second term as an ambassador. Garrett started with us with the program in 2019 and served for 2 years as the park ambassador for Broadview Park. And this year, actually, he's serving as ambassador for Lower Cascades because he recently moved within town. And he has just been so dedicated in his role. He has clocked over 40 hours serving as an ambassador. And we always appreciate him checking in on the parks. The Park Ambassador Program is designed for our ambassadors to engage with park users, remind them of certain like proper use of the park, such as leashing your dog, cleaning up, things like that, directing them to some of the amenities if needed. So we like to assign our ambassadors to some of our more populated parks where they will regularly interact with park users. They also help report on any needs for maintenance, graffiti, anything like that. And so we always appreciate their time and effort being on the ground and being our eyes and ears for any maintenance needs at our parks. So Garrett has been a wonderful park ambassador. How it actually came to pass is he had registered as a participant in our first ever Veterans 5K, which was originally at RCA Park back in 2018. He made a passing reference to how much he appreciates our parks, and he regularly goes to the park that he lives near, which at the time was Broadview. And we struck up a conversation about the Park Ambassador Program. And now he's 3 years into serving as an ambassador, which this will carry over into 2023. And we hope we get to work with him again after that. So we just appreciate him and wanted to recognize Garrett with the Bravo Award this month.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sarah. And I think we have Garrett here in the meeting.
What do you think?
I'm here.
Hey, Garrett.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for, as Sarah said, being the eyes and ears there at Lower Cascades. That's a real help to the Parks Department, just knowing that there's someone else there looking out.
Well, sure. Thank you for the opportunity. It's a wonderful program for anybody that frequents the park very much at all, likes interaction, as well as likes knowing what's going on with the parks. Sarah and her program are a wonderful asset to anybody interested in the park program. I frequent them all quite a bit, but it's an occasion that I share with her. Anytime I do go to Lower Cascades, that's the park that recently been going to and visiting as the park ambassador. Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you. That's also a nice shout out to any future park ambassadors who might want to get involved. So, all right. Thank you for coming by.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Garrett.
Okay. All right. And then we'll move into our section B of other business. And first up, Tim Street has a couple of items here today, but the first is to talk about some Alcott Park stormwater issues.
Yes, good evening, Park Board. My name is Tim Street. I'm the Operations and Development Division Director with Parks. I have a few items to present to you tonight. As mentioned, we are starting with a contract with Bynum Faneuil and Associates for some channel stabilization at Alcott Park. Essentially, what we're looking for is a contract for $9,084 that will come out of our general fund operations budget. This contract will basically bring some professional engineering to bear on a problem that's been going on the north end of Alcott Park for years. On the northern border of Alcott Park, where it borders with the stands and Ashwood Lane, there is a east-west stormwater drainage that comes out of the stands and traverses across the northern part of the park. It frequently sediments in. We have to go down there, clean it out, deal with a number of erosion and sedimentation issues. And sometimes during high water events, when it gets sedimented in, it does spill water over the park border to the north and into some yards of some neighbors. So rather than continuing to try to just, hack this away one little fix at a time, we'd like to bring a professional engineer on board to give us an idea of what it would take to really design this to be successful for the long term. The contract with Bynum Faneuil and Associates has the option when they come up with the solution, we can either decide to implement that in-house or utilize them to do some construction and bid documents for us to go with the contractor. That would be sometime next year based on when this would be completed. Happy to answer any questions.
Whoops. Okay. Thank you, Tim. Do we have any questions for Tim from other board members? Okay, looks like an important thing to do to, as you say, not just keep having small Band-Aids on a larger problem. So, all right, do we have a motion to approve this item?
Yes, I will move to approve the contract with Bynum Faneuil.
Okay. And a second?
Second.
All right, and a roll call vote then, please, Kim.
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera,
Aye.
and Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay, motion unanimously carried. And then next up, Tim will also tell us about, I believe this is the Bryant Park one here. Contract with Milestone Contractors for Bryant Park trail improvements.
Yes, I'm happy to bring this forward to you tonight. This is something we've been working on for a few months to get this all lined up. This is for the perimeter trail improvements that were originally scoped in the general obligation bond. As you know, we are working towards the tail end of getting all of our general obligation projects encumbered and underway. And this is sort of one of the last ones that we had outstanding. So earlier this year, we contracted with Rundale Ernstberger and Associates to come up with our construction docs for this plan to help us make some determinations about asphalt cost, overlay, boardwalk, things like that. The goal of these funds is to improve the perimeter trail at Bryant Park. So not necessarily the east-west trail that runs through the middle of it along Sheridan Creek, but all the way around the outside. Thankfully, we were able to identify enough funds to complete the entire perimeter trail, either through overlay or through replacement in some sections. One of the major priorities we looked at with this is protection of existing trees in Bryant Park. They are very important and very much a part of the character of Bryant Park. So in two places along the north side, rather than getting into potential tree root disturbances and protecting the drip lines of the trees long-term, there will be two boardwalks instead that will serve long-term to protect the trees. One of them will be right by the fitness station, which will also pick up asphalt connections to the fitness station. And the other one will be a little farther east towards the tennis courts. The rest of the connection all the way around will be, for the most part, overlaid. There's a small section on the east side where we are going to reroute the trail slightly. That's in green. That is where we'll move the trail just slightly to get out of the drip line of some larger trees that are continuing to grow. In a couple of places, we will be making improved crossings, road interactions with the trail at the southeast corner, where there's a small sidewalk access next to those apartments. That will get redone with detectable warnings and better concrete. And then where the trail crosses the lower parking lot on the west side, there will also be improved crossings with concrete and detectable warnings. And then finally, the major things in the southwest corner, we'll have a section widened. There's actually a section there that's right now basically just sidewalk, and the rest of the trail is either, well, it ranges between 5 and 8 foot width. So we will be widening that section to match, to have at least that consistent 5-6 feet of width all the way around the trail. Happy to answer any questions. Oh, and the timeline for this, asphalt plants are already booked up for this year. So as we built this contract, we set this to be done as soon as asphalt plants open in the new year. So the start date for this will be within 45 days of April 15th next year.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Tim. Just two things I have that people have mentioned to me. So I guess there's at least one placard on a tree that's close to the path and talking about that tree, or advising that tree is going to have to be cut down. And I didn't know, I guess my general question is, will there have to be any trees that will need to be cut down to take care of this trail improvement?
Sure. There are not any trees that have to be cut down necessarily as part of this. There is some related tree work that we're deciding to undertake because this project is upcoming. There are two hazard trees on the south side. One of them is near Duke Energy lines that Duke will need to take down. It is a large tulip poplar that is unhealthy and failing. Aaron identified that one, and I'm forgetting the species of the other one along the south side, but there is another tree that is failing and in poor health and may not respond well to the stress of some construction nearby. So those are the two hazard trees. On the northeast corner by the tennis courts, we did receive a tree appeal that will need to be heard in the future. There are 6 Bradford pear trees there. That as well, while we are working on this area and making these improvements, we had identified to take those Bradford pear trees out since they are invasive and replace with native species. But we will have to deal with that separately for that specific tree appeal. The hazard trees are not appealable.
Okay, right. Yeah, I think the person who mentioned to me wondered about that it was not appealable. So that makes sense. And then also something that I don't know if this is related, just looking at where these asphalt overlays are going to be. And I think, well, anyway, I hear an earful about the turn in if you're on Henderson, I guess, and you are turning in, you would be turning east into that parking lot that's over near the playgrounds. And there is that sort of traffic pattern going to stay the same across that trail? Will the asphalt path will just continue there and the turn in will be the same there? And
it is. We're not making any sort of traffic pattern changes with this.
Okay.
The funds we'd identified were to improve the trail itself. And so, part of that is, especially for accessibility concerns, improving the interactions of the trail with the road right there.
Okay.
And making sure we have the detectable warnings. I'm not sure if there's another issue there. Let me know. And maybe it's something.
Yeah, I could talk to you about it later. If it's not directly on the trail plan, then yeah, I can just mention it later then. So,
sure.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other questions from board members?
No, I mean, I think the fact that one section is going to be full wide trail instead of just sidewalk will make a lot of sense. That's always like a area that you're sidestepping people on the, where it's a lot narrower along that one section. I was wondering, if there was any thought to, and I'm guilty of this myself, that section in the southwest corner, I think it would be, a lot of people kind of cut across the grass there. So like, instead of going north on the trail to continue up toward the parking lot. Yep, right there. Yeah. So right there, people kind of tend to cut across to the sidewalk. And so I just wasn't sure if there was any thought to connecting that, or, I mean, I know it'd be costly to like remove it. I don't know that if that was just factored in at all.
We did look at that in terms of, if you're coming across the street from the west side across Henderson coming into the park, I think is what you're saying. And then you hit that sidewalk, which you can see down there that shoots you to the north to connect to the loop trail. There's a little bit of a drop off from that driveway right there that has some drainage that comes out of it. So it's not the best place to try to put a sidewalk in necessarily. I know there's been some water that kind of shunts off that area in the past. So we did look at that. We're hoping that, widening the trail where that connection is made and making an easier turn radius for people will make it a little more inviting to come north, and maybe people want to not have to do that hard turn to the right. So with the trail being wider, that should be a little easier. But we didn't want to necessarily add new trail there. We're trying to make improvements on the existing and hope to help solve that problem. But it's of course always something we could look at for the future.
Yeah, just curious. Like I said, I'm guilty of it myself. And the only reason I would have further questions is because this would be an area that I frequent a lot. So I know that trail well, but I'm excited to see the improvements made. Thanks, Tim.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions for Tim?
I can move to approve the contract.
Second.
Okay, and a roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The motion is carried. And then Tim has one more item today about the stage at the Waldron Hill and Buskirk Park. Also, still some of us call it 3rd Street Park, but.
Yes. Thanks for sticking with me. One more here. So staff recommends approval of contract with RC Engineering. This is for a structural engineering inspection of the Waldron Hill and Buskirk Park stage. In terms of dollar amount, this is not necessarily a large dollar amount item, but it is one we just kind of wanted to make you aware of that is going on. So I want to say it was September, some staff reported noticing some cracking at the Waldron Hill Buskirk stage, specifically on these 2 column supports that hold up the roof and on the slab that makes up the floor. Honestly, the cracking in the column supports is more concerning. Not necessarily that we didn't have fears that it was all going to collapse suddenly and fall in or anything like that, but we want to be exceedingly safe with what we're doing. And of course, there's always a chance that, something could flake off and fall down while people are around there or something. So as shown in the picture, we did get some fencing and have fenced this off until we can complete the inspection. They're prepared to come do that yet this month after the contract is approved. So just wanted to keep you posted that is going on. That is something we're looking at. Don't want to be too speculative. Obviously it could have something to do with the major construction in the area this summer, with vibration, with things like that. And so RC Engineers, I was told, has some specialty in that. So I wanted to bring them in to take a look and, make a determination on the safety of this. Thankfully, programming wise, it really has not had a big impact on programming, as that has pretty much the season there. But this is something we want to look at, particularly before, maybe we add the weight of a heavy snowfall on the roof, and certainly before we get to next season and opening things up again. So we'll have to report back with what we find.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you, Tim. Any questions about this inspection? Okay,
I don't
all right,
have any.
then, yeah, and I think we'll ready for a motion then on this one.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. Yes, I will move to approve the contract with RC to inspect the stage.
Second.
Okay, and a roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Radke,
Aye.
Israel Herrera,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Okay, the motion carries. All right, thank you, Tim, for all of those important items.
Thanks, everybody.
And then we'll go to B5 is a contract addendum with Ecologic, and this will be Joanna Sparks telling us about this.
Actually, doesn't Rebecca go next?
That item's actually going to move to probably next month. Yeah, so you're on.
Okay, let me open up my screen here. Good afternoon. Joanna Sparks, City Landscaper here today to recommend approval of a contract addendum with Ecologic for vegetation management services at Switchyard Park. For the an amount not to exceed $11,720. Ecologic is currently doing a large scale restoration work in the riparian zones as well as the forested areas throughout Switchyard Park. And this particular area for the contract addendum is a bioretention, two bioretention ponds at the very southern end of Switchyard Park, just south of the dog parks, to the west of the trail. This is we have a shared maintenance responsibility with City of Bloomington Utilities. And upon recent inspection, we determined that there were an excessive amount of invasive species present in this area that has not had management during the course of the Switchyard Park construction. And there's propagules coming out of that area into the park, which are counterproductive to our efforts to manage invasives on that property, as well as the Bloomington Rail Trail just to the south. So we would like to hire Ecologic to come in as an expansion of their existing project and work in these areas. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. And
Okay, all right, thank you. Any questions for Joanna about this one?
I think you mentioned it, but is this part of you said a restoration project? Just briefly, what is that? Is there a larger restoration project? As we've probably already discussed it in other meetings, but just curious on that.
yes, there's Ecologic has actually been working in the Switchyard Park site since pre-construction days, managing invasives, but they were actually the contractor hired by Weddle Brothers to implement the ecological restoration aspect of the Switchyard Park construction project. So they've been working over the entire property pretty much over the last 3 to 4 years, managing invasives, and they also implemented the vegetation management in the wetland area, the daylighted stream. They're working along the Clear Creek corridors, managing invasives, and they've done extensive reforestation plantings. So yeah, pretty much throughout the park and in the undeveloped areas, just all along the edges and it right smack dab in the middle.
Thank you.
Okay, any
Yeah.
other questions for Joanna?
No questions. Thanks, Joanna. I think it's great. I'm glad that we are able to make this a priority and set an example around, the community to help with invasive species management. So thanks for working on this. I can move to approve if we're good.
Okay, yeah.
Second.
All right, and a roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Radke,
Aye.
Israel Herrera,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. And then Joanna will also tell us about another addendum, also with Ecologic, this time at Miller Showers Park.
Yep. Joanna Sparks, city landscaper here again to ask, recommend approval of a contract addendum with Ecologic for more vegetation management work at Miller Showers Park on the north side of town. Ecologic has been, this will be the third year they've been working at Miller Showers Park, implementing a 10-year management plan, moving from an extensive focus on invasive removal and control into native restoration work. We've made space now, taken out the vast majority of the woody invasives. There's still some herbaceous invasives such as crown vetch and teasel. And also one of the more pernicious weeds is our native poison ivy, which has just exploded in the last couple of years. And there's a particular area in the very original native plant installation that was put in with the construction of Miller Showers Park in the early 2000s. And that area is just particularly infested with poison ivy and just rather unattractive. And we would like to jazz up the curb appeal as well as improve the habitat opportunities and increase the biodiversity there. So as part of the summer evaluation by Ecologic senior ecologist, he identified several areas that needed attention due to non-native invasive herbaceous weeds and native weeds. So this contract addendum would just expand some of the work that they're already doing to address some of the original planting areas, and that work would take place starting this fall. So, and I'd be happy to answer more questions, and I'll try to keep it brief.
Okay, all right. Yes, thank you, Joanna. I know in the time I've been on the Parks Board, we've talked from time to time about improving, as you say, the curb appeal over there. And I do feel like I see more people using the space in the last several years, but certainly invasives and poison ivy are things to get rid of. So thank you for that. Any questions from other board members for Joanna? Okay, all right. I think, Ellen, if you want to make a motion.
Sure.
Then.
I can move to approve the second contract with Ecologic.
I second.
Okay, and a roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Radke,
Aye.
Israel Herrera,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Joanna.
Okay, thank you all very much.
And then Leslie Brinson will tell us about some just kind of housekeeping updates to the history of the department and delineation of responsibilities documents.
Yes, good afternoon. Leslie Brinson, Community Events Manager. As you know, the Parks Department has a policy manual that holds all of our policies that direct our how we handle things, and important information like that is reviewed periodically, both for our accreditation and just to make sure that everything is up to date. And there are two policies, as you mentioned, that just need small updates. One is policy 1070, history of the department. This is where it talks not only about the history of when the department was created, but park board members and administrators as well. And so we needed to add Ellen and James and Jim on the list of park board members and their current time periods of their service. So that's the only change to that, is just to add the two new park members to that list. Policy 4030 is the delineation of responsibilities and program areas. This breaks down the park's program areas from recreation to sports. We needed to add Switchyard Park to that list and give a description of that program area, and also did some updates to the youth sports area as things have changed with the way that they do youth sports, with us not offering youth softball and things of those sorts and doing more partnerships. So just like you said, some housekeeping updates to those two policies, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Okay, all right. Well, I sort of enjoyed just looking over the history and the names and noticing that the first Parks Board meeting was almost 100 years ago, December 7th, 1921. I'm sure that was probably on Zoom as well.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah. So I don't have any questions unless any other board members do. No? Okay, I think we're ready for a motion then.
Kathleen Mills.
Well, I'll move.
first-
to
Oh, I'm so
approve the
sorry.
Policy change. No,
I
you're-
apologize.
Jim's too efficient.
I'm getting ahead of it.
I'll second.
Okay. Now we can do the roll call.
Okay. Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay. That motion carries. Thank you, Leslie. And then the division directors are going to take us through the review of the 2022 price schedule.
Yeah, Kathleen, I'd just like to
Yeah.
jump in here quickly
Sure.
before they start, especially for our new park board member. But this draft review of the 2022 price schedule is just that, a draft. So each division director will go through their areas and highlight where they have fees and charges changes for next year. So you'll have a month to look that over, and then we will be back with the official approval of the price schedule for 2022. So again, each division director will present, and you'll have plenty of time to look it over, and they'll have some justifications for some of their changes. So I'll turn it over. Looks like Becky Higgins, our Recreation Services Director, is going to lead us off. Thank you.
Thanks, Paula. Good afternoon, everybody. I am going to start the process, and I will go through, I will give you page numbers if you, just for simplicity, and if you are following along in the price schedule. It looks like a lot from the Recreation Division area, but it just looks that way because so many things are listed individually, but it shouldn't be too bad. So starting, the first change is on page 6 with the Banneker Center and the facility rentals, programs, classes, and special events. So the first thing we did was define what regular operational hours were, and that was 9 to 5. And then we have increased category C, and we have 3 categories that we work with: inner city, nonprofit, and then profit-making groups. So category C is profit-making groups. And we are raising the rate for the kitchen from $30 to $40 and $45 to $50 for the gym. And then under non-operational hours, which is after 5 p.m. and on weekends, we are decreasing category B, which is the gym, for the gym, from 35 to 30, and increasing category B for the whole building from $75 to $100, and then increasing category C with the kitchen from 40 to 50. And I know this sounds like we're jumping back and forth, but actually in the bigger picture, it makes things simpler. We're decreasing category C, the gym, from 55 to 50, and also in category C, the third floor from 45 to 40, and the whole building we're increasing that from 140 to 150. And that's it for that area. Moving on to community events, while it looks like there's a whole page because we break down market, what I want to just say is that what we are basically doing for our Saturday market is increasing the space reservation for vendors by $1 per market. So it's a gradual increase. At the same time, we are decreasing the food and beverage artisans percentage that they pay us from 7.5% to 7%. And if you remember the last couple of years, we've started this process of trying to equal the two out a bit more. And this lets us continue in that effort, but also taking into consideration that we're still working with an active budget that we're working on cost recovery. So this is part of a 5-year plan. We're moving cautiously into it because we still haven't gone through this complete year. So we have talked about the increase of, while it sounds like it's just $1 per Saturday, when you add that up, it shows the difference in the spaces, and it's on you have the April market, which is 5 market days. You have the Saturday market, which is 26, and then the November market, it was either 4 or 5. I forget. I'm sorry about that. But it basically just raises it $1, decreases the other a little bit. We're not changing the price on the Tuesday markets. The only reason that the price looks different is because of the number of Tuesdays that we have to have market. So that takes us to page 10, which is talking about a Fair of the Arts. And we're changing our booth space fee range from $37 to $70 to $45 to $60. So we are, and the holiday market is just a wording change from a jury fee to an application fee. So not much there. And then in Switchyard Park on page 16, we are making some changes. We're living through a good rental year that we're having there, and we're making some changes, what we've learned. So the weekend and holiday rental is a 4-hour time block that'll go from $300 to $350. So it's still just a marginal increase. And then the weekend and holiday per day rental from $600 to $700. And we increased the deposit by $50 on that. We've also included with the projector rental that you also get the screen along with that. And then the pavilion lawn, right outside of the pavilion, we increased weekday rental Monday through Thursday from $75 to $90. And the weekend and holiday rental from $90 to $120. We have added a setup fee to the pavilion. We have a lot of people who now want to move their events and weddings and such from the pavilion, utilizing that patio area right outside, which is a bit involved with setup to do that. So we have added a charge of $100 as a setup fee for that. And then we also have some groups that would like to, within that, we fence in that patio area, and then they could also take alcohol out in that fenced in area. So we have added an alcohol service fee for inside the pavilion of $50, and outside, if they want to take it only out on that patio, for $100. The North Activity Lawn is increased weekdays from $75 to $90, and from weekends and holidays from $90 to $120. So you'll start to see a pattern in the lawns. And then under the South Activity Lawn, it would be the same, $75 to $90 Monday through Thursday, and $90 to $120 on weekends and holidays. And the main stage and performance lawn in front of it, we've increased category 1, which is without theatrical lighting, from $200 to $250, and increased the deposit from $100 to $125, and increased category 2 from $250 to $400, and $125 to $200 for the deposit. I'm almost done. We've increased weekdays from $75 to $90, and weekend and holidays from $90 to $120. We have removed shelter rentals for Switchyard Park. That shelter, we've decided that it's not rented a lot, and it would actually be better just to make it first come, first served, like some of our other parks. So we're moving to that direction there. And then lastly, on page 20, youth programs under Kids City Original is being increased from 175 to 180 in city and 180 to 185 out of city. And Kids City Quest is increased from 165 to 180 and 170 to 185 for out of city. And Kids City gets increased every other year. And then break days are alternating years. So we're on a Kids City increase for this year. And that is all I have. If you wanna, I don't know if you wanna ask me any questions now or wait till everyone presents, but I'm happy to answer anything.
Okay, thanks, Becky. I think my only question is, I just wonder historically, well, before I say that, just to back up, you mentioned it's been a really good year for shelter rentals and people want to hold events outdoors. And I just wonder if historically, if you raise rates on space rental, does that deter some people from wanting to rent the space, or do they tend to, they just still, if they want the space, they want the space within reason?
Kind of supply and demand, to be
Yeah,
honest with you. And right now, and specifically, I was talking about the pavilion.
yeah,
We don't have enough weekends in the year.
wow. Okay, well, that's a
It's
good problem.
It's a good problem.
Yeah, okay, all right, great, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, any other questions for Becky?
How do you come up, somehow my video disappeared, but how do you come up with the rates for like setup 100 to 120? Do you have any idea about how many people and how long it takes to do that? So is that where you come up with that, or is it, okay?
Absolutely. We look at the staffing needed to go along with it and the time it takes. And like the patio, that's turned out to be kind of labor intensive. You wouldn't think so, but all those market tables that you see out there need to be moved. You know, there's a lot of moving and setting up, and it's taken a job that while one person could do it, it's difficult. So now we need two people to do it. So that increases prices.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that we're capturing what it costs and not underselling ourselves, or at least we're taking that into consideration. We can decide whether we want to do that or not, but at least we know what it's, how much time you're taking and what it costs. So that's
right. And we are still learning with switch yard. So it could change again next year, but yes, we are.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I
Thanks,
see
Becky.
John. I see John's next, so I'll turn
Okay.
it over to him.
All right,
Hi, can you hear me okay? Great. John Turnbull, Division Director, Sports. Good afternoon. Thank you for your attention on the case of our prices. Not a lot of changes. There is some housekeeping, cleaning up. There are a few things, and I'll just go page by page. You're welcome to ask me any questions at any time. Page 2 is a change in tennis lessons, and that is a partnership program. It's done with Coach Matt Corey. The reason for the great variance is because some lessons go 4 weeks, some go 6, some go 3. So we haven't really landed on what it's going to be this spring, but the range is from $40 to $70 for tennis lessons. Just wanted to mention on page 3 in our field rental agreements, you might find this interesting, but for the most part, we like to rent a field and not have the maintenance staff there and clocking hours and having that expense. However, those individuals or event directors that want to rent the fields, we found that for the most part, they want maintenance to be there in case it rains. They can get water off the field and that kind of thing. So we've added a $35 per hour charge for however many hours they want maintenance to be there. In addition, there is drying product associated with ball fields, and every bag is pretty expensive. It's in the $12 to $13 range. So we are adding that cost in there on page 3. Real quick on aquatics, probably Kathleen, you'll find this most interesting, page 4. There is an aquatics report coming up, but we sold a lot of season passes this year to our surprise. Columbus Parks does not sell nearly as many as we did, and the price is basically the same. So we really, I understand there's downward pressure on pools and making it affordable. We're okay with that. But we do think that the season passes is a wicked deal at $50. So it's going to $65. We propose $65. And then the economy pass, which is a 20 visit pass, going up a little to $85. That's in the aquatics area. And then really on page 12, very simple, the ice arena, we're making it more simplified by having just one hourly rate at $230 per hour. We had a non-prime rate, but nobody ever rented non-prime. We define prime as 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. I'm sure you wouldn't be surprised that in some arenas up north, they rent ice at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and so on. We don't. Our market is just not that strong. So we just simplified it with one rate. Golf is rather interesting on page 13. We raised, well, I'm sorry, first we got rid of our Cascade Special, which was an 18-hole special that we did during the construction of Zoysia grass being implemented. We no longer feel that's necessary. We did raise the Twilight green fees, and I'm sure you're aware Twilight is a time that fluctuates set by the staff depending on when it gets dark. Typically target about 2 to 2.5 hours before dark. So it's a discount rate, but we raised that $3 to $20. 18-hole 10-play pass, raise that a little bit because that's been a little bit oversold. So we raised that $10. Locker rental, I honestly don't know, and I forgot to ask how that's going, but raise that. The staff wanted to raise that. Spectator carts were pretty expensive in the market. These are spectator carts when there's a tournament, a sectional, a high school sectional, a girls invitational, that kind of thing, when parents want to ride around. So we reduced that to $10. Tournament fee went up a little bit, $5. And then I think the only two other interesting notes, the student green fee pass, we wanted to restrict the hours from, instead of Monday through Sunday at any time, now it's restricted to Monday through Thursday, and we raised it $3. I think you probably know, with the advent of Indiana University's course being very high on the price point, we just feel confident that this is still a very good deal. And then we added a senior rate. We've always been pressured, shall I say, to add a senior rate, and we restrict that to Monday through Thursday, and we're fine with it at $20. Most seniors ride anyway, so just to let you know, they also rent a cart as well. And so typically we get at $35 for the visit out of them anyway. And just a little cleanup on page 17 with court rentals. We just changed, instead of just basketball, sometimes some groups rent the basketball courts for other purposes besides basketball. We added volleyball. I don't know if, I think this is kind of interesting, but volleyball, we've always tried to get into that market, and we've had great difficulty because they've been able to get cheap gym space elsewhere. But we're finally making some inroads in the volleyball market, but it takes time and staff to set up volleyball nets. they're not a lot of fun to set up. So we added that cost in there, $35 per court for volleyball. Twin Lakes Recreation Center on page 18, really just a small change in one party room rental, an increase of $5. And I believe that wraps it up on the sports. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that you're keeping the golf kind of competitive with what's going on out in the area. And I would agree that the pool pass was a wicked good deal. I think at one point I worked out the math of how many times I went for my $50, and I don't want to tell you, but it was an incredible deal for me. So I'm happy to pay $15 more.
Yeah, if you do it per visit, you do the math, it's probably pretty incredible.
Yeah, so, okay, all right. Thank you, John.
Thank
John,
you.
I was just curious on the ice arena, you removed the non-primetime fee. Is it eligible if a organization came to you and said, oh, we want to rent at 6 a.m. or something? Is that an option, or did you just try to totally remove that as even an option?
No, it would be an option. We've made it the same price. Honestly, what we normally do is move them to where the staff is already there. So we don't want somebody there at 6 a.m. and then the ice is empty until 9 a.m. But we have to pay staff to be there. So normally we push them back up against each other for efficiency's sake.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just curious. Thanks.
You're welcome.
John, I have a question regarding the tennis fees. So it went from 40 to 70, correct?
Correct.
It is almost 100%, and I wonder if the increase is because of adding more hours or adding more days, or why this kind of I see that is the maybe the higher increase of all the sports and activities.
Yes, the answer is both. Typically, the number of hours for a lesson has been increased, but I got to be honest, also the quality is way up from when we used to do it ourselves. And we had 500% more participation in tennis lessons this year. Some of it to COVID, I'm sure, but most of it because of the instruction was really a step up.
And remind us the partner that we have. It's
The partner is MC Tennis. That's Matt Corey, who is a certified USTA coach. He coaches at South High School. He recruits staff that are either former players from high school, or even in some cases, they're longtime adult coaches. So we're trying not, our niche is not to be exclusive or to be IU Tennis Center type instruction where we're, developing competitors or anything like that. But the value here, the value of the instruction is very good.
right. And John, am I right if I say that like 8 sessions during 4 weeks would be the $70, right?
I can't say that for sure. I could tell you that on a per hour basis, tennis comes in around $10 an hour.
Right, but during 4 weeks, during a regular month with 4 weeks, it will be twice a week. And then during 4 weeks, and the price that the person will have to pay for the youth fee will be the let me see here, the $70 fee.
Yeah, yes, lessons are typically twice a week.
Okay. And can I assume that those 2 days per week might be like interchangeable, that maybe they are offered or is there a fix?
No, it's fixed because of the ratio and knowing who's
Okay.
going to be there and how many people are going to be. So you would sign up for Monday and Wednesday, and or I'm sorry, you would sign up for Tuesday and Thursday.
Thank you, yeah.
You're welcome.
And yeah, I would just kind of echo what John said, that the people I took one of the classes, and the people that I talked to there were, some of them were signed up for like the whole summer, basically. I mean, it was very, very popular. Yeah, a lot of enthusiasm out there. So, okay. Any other questions for John or? Okay.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, thank you. And who's up next? Do we have?
I think that's me again. Can you hear me okay? Okay. So operations division pricing changes. We don't have too many, just a few things to go over. There's a few in the cemeteries area on page 7, specifically at the Rose Hill Cemetery. The individual lots were removed. That is just because there are no more individual lots to be purchased. Insert joke about cemetery dying to get in here. Also just added a specification to the cremain lots that those are 5x4, just a detail being added. And then also the mausoleum niches, the last one of those was sold this year. So Rose Hill, just be aware, there is not a lot of additional space to be sold for people to come in there. On page 14, natural resources, we are advising no changes to prices there, which includes primarily pricing out at the Griffey Lake Boathouse. One of the reasons we're not advising any changes there is because of the ongoing disruption with Griffey and the project and things like that. And we don't feel like with spring and the exact opening date a little uncertain, we don't feel like it's right to adjust our prices there at this point. And then lastly, on page 15, under shelter rentals were increased across the board by $3. Similar to kind of what Becky was talking about, looking at demand coming back, competitive pricing, keeping these things moving along. A small incremental increase is better for us to do, maybe every other year rather than waiting and doing a large increase, which comes as sticker shock to people. There was also a change to count Fridays as weekends instead of as a weekday, based on how that was being used. You can see some of the specific price increases in there. And let's see what else. I missed if Becky said this or not as part of Switchyard Park, and the Switchyard main shelter there at the platform and the spray pad will no longer be rentable. That just hasn't worked out in terms of being private enough and able to separate from just the large amount of people that frequently are there in the first place. So happy to answer any questions.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Tim. Any questions about operations division changes? All right. And then let's see.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Becky, too.
Yes, thank you. And then I think we've covered, Paula, have we covered everybody on the price schedule review?
Yes, we have. Those are all three
Okay.
areas. Mhm, thank
Okay.
you.
All right, and I'm assuming, we are not voting on that at this time, right? We're just reviewing.
No, correct. That's a lot of information to digest. So we just ask that you review that, and then we will bring it back in November, ask if there's any further questions or discussion, and then at that time, we'll ask for your review and approval.
Okay. All right, great. So then we will go to section C with the, as John Turnbull mentioned, the 2021 Aquatics Report from D. Tuttle.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Dee Tuttle, Sports Facility Program Manager. Today, I will be presenting the 2021 Aquatics Report for my first time. So we'll go section by section, and if you have any questions, please ask those after each slide. Next slide, please. So the operating season for Bryant Park Pool was May 29th through September the 6th. And after August the 3rd, we were open on Saturdays and Sundays until Labor Day weekend. And then on Labor Day weekend, we were open Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Mills Pool was open from May 29th until August the 3rd. And at August the 3rd, at that point, we shut the pool for the season. And we did have an event there, a recreation event, shortly after we closed, before we drained the pools. We had drill in the pool, which was very successful. And then everything moved over to Bryant. Daily admissions for 2021 were Bryant Park, 24,685. That number is people in the door for the entire pool season. And at Mills, it was 5,040. We did a 3-year average from 2017, 2018, and 2019 as a comparison. And the average attendance during those 3 years was 35,793 at Bryant and 12,421 at Mills Pool. Coming off of 2020 being closed because of COVID, we feel that both facilities did very well. We sold 440 season passes. We sold 237 20-punch economy passes. We had several Bloomington Parks camps attend both of our facilities, which included Kid City camps, Banneker, and then we had Macomb in the morning at Mills for an hour, and we had 525 attendees there. We had Boys and Girls Club attend Bryant Pool, and then once again, all of the Kid City camps attended Bryant Pool as well. Any questions? Okay, next slide, please. We had 25 private pool parties at Bryant Pool. We were busy almost every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And the revenue from those pool rentals at Bryant accounted for $8,889. And at Mills, we had 8 private pool rentals for a total revenue of $2,431. We had several sessions of swim lessons. They were all very well attended. They all, for the most part, were full. I think we probably only had 2 spots all summer. We offered 3 sessions of 2-week lessons, session 1, session 2, and session 3. And as you can see on the slide, you can see the numbers associated with each level for each session. So if you take all those numbers and you add them up, we had 373 total participants take swim lessons, and each participant had 8 lessons in a session. That equals out to 2,984 swim lessons at Bryant Park Pool this summer. Questions? Okay, next slide, please. Employee trainings and employee information. We hired and trained approximately 40 lifeguards. We did 2 or 3 trainings during the season as we were able to obtain new employees. It takes at least this amount of lifeguards to maintain Bryant and Mills Pool from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 days a week. We also had a front end staff of 8 individuals and 8 individuals that were concession attendants. Employee trainings happened before the season started. So those were preseason trainings, and those were approximately 93 hours. And I did not include the ongoing training that we did on a daily basis when that we had breaks, the 2 breaks during the day. We were always training, backboard training, as you can see with this slide, and just updates and reminders as we move through the season. So we covered on a regular basis bloodborne pathogens, pool cleanups, general staff training, spinal injury, emergency procedure management, swim instructor orientation, customer service, concession staff training, in-service training, which was approximately 95 hours, general staff training, emergency procedures, spinal injury management, and lifeguard and CPR skills. Questions? Okay, next slide, please. This slide provides revenue and budgeted revenue for each facility. At Bryant Pool this year, we had a budgeted amount of revenue, $235,501. Our actual revenue was $220,289. So that means that we had a cost subsidy of 17%, which means for every dollar we spent at Bryant Pool, we got back 83 cents. Bryant Pool concessions budgeted amount was $42,000 for an 8-week season, which seems like a crazy big number. But we ended up with actually a $39,362 in revenue, which we also thought was a really, really good number to end at. Mills Pool revenue budgeted was $29,600. The actual revenue was $27,827. And for every dollar we spent at Mills, we got back 37 cents, which ended up with a 39%, or I'm sorry, a 61% cost subsidy. So once again, at Bryant, our cost subsidy was 17%, and it was 61% at Mills. Any questions? Overall, I think it was a very successful season. We were successful in recruiting and training new employees after a year off, which was a big challenge for us. So we're hoping that we will be able to retain many of those employees, and they can spread the word to their friends and family members, and we can continue with a positive employee number.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Dee. That all seems very positive, especially given how expensive it is to run pools and the nationwide lifeguard shortage.
Yeah, it was a real challenge, but
yeah,
you know, we recruited all summer, so we did well.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, and then I believe we are back over to Paula then.
Yes, and I'd like, Dee, can you come back a minute? Can you bring your video back?
Sure.
I just want to take a few minutes to recognize Dee for the incredible effort this summer. She was already set to go in 2020, and of course, COVID put a stop to that, and then the added challenges to get the pools up and operational. And I can tell you, about 3 weeks before opening, we thought we were going to have to open with precautions, and she had a plan for that. Different entrances and cleaning schedules, and really seeing that everything, every T was crossed and I dotted, and ran a super successful season. Obviously running pools is a serious business, and you can tell by the training that goes into it, and attention to detail is what results in having a safe season at both pools. So I just want to thank Dee for her leadership. And of course, this is in the sports division under John Turnbull. So it was, again, heroic effort, and we are thrilled that we were able to open because we know that's such a popular summer activity. The kids that attended and the adults and that, and every time I drove by the pool or visited, despite all the cicadas, because we lived through that too, Dee.
I was going to mention that, and I
The
forgot.
week they were dive bombing pool participants on the deck and cleaning it out of the pool was just like another added little stress that they survived through. So again, I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank Dee and her staff for a successful, safe summer season at the pools.
Thanks, Paula. I do want to give a shout out to Shanda Sims, and she was our staff assistant at both pools, and she is a pool person, and she was just a great, super asset to me and to the department at both facilities. And she will be returning with us for the 2022 season, which I'm very thankful for.
All right, great. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dee. All right, and Paula, you want to?
All right, that's all that we have on the agenda. So just a brief announcement that we meet early in November again because of the holiday. So our next board meeting will be Tuesday, November 16th. And again, we'll be on standby watching at the end of the month for the governor's emergency orders to know whether we'll continue via Zoom or that we might meet in person. So stand by for that information at the end of the month or the first of the month. We'll be sure to let you know. So again, thank you for your time this afternoon. And as always, your support and feedback and all the questions that you have for the department.
All right, thank you, Paula. And with that, our October meeting of the Bloomington Board of Park Commissioners is adjourned. Thanks, everyone.